Today, we're taking a look at TCL's first entry in its new precise dimming series, the QM6K. Unlike past years, TCL is rolling out its new TV lineup in phases, and this is the first model to hit the market. It was shown at CES earlier this year, and surprisingly, it didn't take long to go from trade show floor to retail shelves, which almost never happens. Now, the QM6K is considered TCL's entry-level mini LED model, but don't let the term entry-level fool you. This is a brand new design from the ground up. TCL's made some pretty meaningful changes here, starting with the backlight system. The QM6K uses a new super high energy LED chip that TCL claims improves brightness by 53% and light efficiency by 10% over last year's models. There's also a new condensed micro lens for better light distribution and micro OD technology, which reduces the gap between the backlight and diffuser plate. The goal here is better contrast and less blooming. The panel itself is an HVA panel, which helps improve black levels by doing a better job of blocking light in darker parts of the image. Color performance also sees a boost thanks to TCL's updated Quantum Dot system, which now hits 98% of the DCI-P3 color space. TCL has also added something called Zero Delay Transient Response. It's a fancy way of saying that they've cut down the lag between your input and how quickly the backlight reacts, which should help reduce ghosting in fast-moving content. Add to that a new dynamic light algorithm, which upconverts SDR to HDR, and you're starting to see a pattern here. A lot of upgrades aimed at improving the picture performance. Now, when it comes to HDR support, this thing checks about every box. Dolby Vision, HDR10+, HDR10, HLG, it's all still here. The QM6K is also IMAX Enhanced certified, which is nice to see at this price point. For connections, the QM6K includes 4 HDMI ports. HDMI 1 and 2 support 4K up to 144 Hz and even 1080p at 240 Hz. HDMI 3 and 4 are limited to 4K at 60 Hz. HDMI 4 also supports eARC, which means you can still use a soundbar or AV receiver without giving up one of your other high-performance ports. On top of that, there are 2 USB ports, one 3.0 and one 2.0, an Ethernet port, and an optical audio output. The built-in audio is handled by a 2.1 Onkyo design speaker system. You get 2 10-watt speakers and a 20-watt built-in subwoofer. It supports Dolby Atmos and DTS Virtual X, though not DTS-X. While it won't replace a good soundbar or speaker setup, it's a decent step up from that tinny sound you get from most TVs. TCL has also made changes to the design. The QM6K has a brushed gunmetal bezel that wraps around the top and sides of the screen. The IR receiver, far-field mic, and a status LED sit just underneath the display. The stand uses dual feet that attach with just a few screws, and around the back there's a checkerboard matte finish. The remote has been redesigned too. It's a bit larger and more squared off than last year's version. The button layout is clean, and TCL even included backlighting, which is a nice surprise at this price point. You get direct access to apps like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney+, and YouTube, along with voice control via a dedicated mic button at the top. Just like last year, Google TV powers the QM6K, which gives you access to all the major streaming apps and integrates your watch list and recommendations into a single screen. Menus felt snappy and responsive in day-to-day use, even though this is an entry-level model. The QM6K includes 6 picture modes in both SDR and HDR: Movie, Filmmaker Mode, Intelligent, Vivid, Sports, and Standard. Going through some of the settings, you have your brightness and contrast, as well as your black levels. You also have gamma control, which comes with 2.2 out of the box. 2.2 works in a bright room, but if you're watching mostly in a darker room, I would recommend switching this to 2.4. Under dynamic contrast, you have adaptive, high, and low. I prefer to leave this off, but you can use low if you prefer that extra punch. For local contrast on SDR, I will leave that on high. Since local contrast affects local dimming, any other setting for that I just wasn't a fan of. There's a micro contrast setting that doesn't seem to do too much, and there's also the dynamic brightness setting if you want to put the TV in eco mode. Under color, you have your color saturation, tint, as well as the dynamic color setting, which will give your image a little more pop, but won't be very accurate. You can also control your color temperature from here and adjust the white balance. Under clarity, you can set the sharpness, which I found 14 to 16 to be the sweet spot. Under that, you have your noise reduction and gradation settings, which I prefer to leave these off. The TV also features an HDR conversion mode that allows SDR content to be displayed with HDR light contrast. Watching X-Men Apocalypse, the difference was subtle. Highlights remained mostly unchanged, but midtones darkened slightly to give the picture a little more depth, which you can see here. And that's a quick look at the settings of the TV. So let's talk about performance. Out of the box, Filmmaker Mode is the most accurate. It's also where I did most of my viewing. Even without calibration, colors look balanced and punchy. Using my meter, I measured Rec 709 coverage at 95.5% and Rec 2020 at 73.6%. Filmmaker Mode hit 812 nits on a 10% window and sustained 642 nits. SDR brightness wasn't far behind, peaking at 627 nits and sustaining at 572 nits. These numbers dip slightly after calibration, but not in a way that would hurt real-world viewing. Watching Dune Part 1, the bright desert scenes looked punchy and the sand retained detail without crushing the highlights. Black levels are another area where the QM6K holds its own. Thanks to local dimming and that HVA panel, dark scenes in movies like The Dark Knight came across as deep and inky without sacrificing too much shadow detail. Blooming was kept in check for the most part, and that's something TCL continues to prioritize, minimizing halo effects even if it means sacrificing a bit of near black detail. Motion performance was better than I expected. TCL's motion interpolation system includes blur reduction and jitter reduction controls. Setting both to 3 seemed to be the sweet spot for me. Pushing them a bit higher did add a touch of that soap opera effect, but didn't go overboard. In fast-moving scenes like the car chase scenes in Baby Driver or a NASCAR stream, things remained fluid and sharp, though lower quality streams still showed some compression-related artifacts. Gaming performance was another highlight. TCL is using a native 144Hz panel here, and in game mode, I measured an input lag of just 13.4 milliseconds at 4K 120Hz. That's pretty competitive with other TVs in this price range. Playing Spider-Man 2 on the PS5 looked and felt great. Motion was smooth, colors were vibrant, and I didn't notice any ghosting or tearing. And lastly, let's talk about audio. While no TV this thin is going to match a proper surround system, the QM6K did better than expected. The mids were clear, dialogue was easy to understand, and the built-in subwoofer gave action scenes a little more presence. For casual viewing, it's totally fine, though I'd still recommend a soundbar or a complete system if you're looking to round out the experience. At the end of the day, the TCL QM6K does exactly what it sets out to do. It brings mini LED and premium features down to a more accessible price point. It's not perfect, but it doesn't need to be. For under $1,000, it delivers a bright, colorful, and accurate image along with surprisingly solid sound and great gaming performance. And that's why the TCL QM6K earns an AVS Forum Top Choice for 2025. If you have any questions or want to share your experience with the QM6K, drop it in the comments below. And if you found this review helpful, consider giving it a like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.